When it comes to funding reserves, there is winning and there is losing. A winning strategy is to adjust your reserve funding to provide what's required for the long-term health and safety of the association. A losing strategy is to keep monthly reserve transfers stagnant, guaranteeing your association a future of special assessments and declining property values. Because board members are untrained volunteers with short terms in office, it's really not surprising that many focus only on short-term agendas. But that's not a good excuse for choosing a losing strategy. Follow along as we introduce the obstacles and challenges in the battle for the future of your association.
Well, thank you, Paige, and to everyone joining us today. Thank you very much for coming, for taking time out of your day to join us. In other webinars we've prepared, we addressed the idea of what is a reserve study, the portions of it, how to use it, some of the calculations behind it. But today we're going to branch into why, the legal responsibilities of boards. And for that, we've got a special guest with us today, Adrian Adams. And we're going to walk through this whole idea with this kind of an agenda today, talking about the battle, the challenge that you have in front of you, the rules of engagement, how to slay the dragon, how to come out on top, and we'll wrap it up with a few closing remarks at the end. But I want to make it clear that this is a battle that you're in. You are a bit of an underdog as the board or manager. You're fighting some outside destructive forces, and we want to equip you to know what you're up against and what your strategies are to move forward. Now, you need to know at first what's at stake. Well, what's at stake if you lose is disruptive special assessments, possibly very expensive ones, in addition to being disruptive, the high cost of loans if you choose to not go down the special assessment route, higher project costs. And what I mean by that is when you let something deteriorate because you don't have enough money or you just choose to go slow, and the deterioration causes additional damage. Think about a roof project that if you wait too long, it causes underlying structural concerns and damage that you then have to fix. And then also if it's leaking, you have leak-related water repairs to do inside top floor units. And so things get expensive if you delay. And loss of D&O coverage, that's a possibility if you are not complying with the governing documents. And there's association liability. What if you aren't doing your job to protect the association? And that may be actually individual board member liability. Adrian will address that when we get to his section, but we are counting on you to fight this battle, and you need to be actively engaged. Otherwise, there's some potential exposure for you personally. And then, of course, there's lagging property values, and that's the home that you live in. It may not rise with other homes in the surrounding areas. So there may be a financial pain. Now, if you are winning, that means you're going to emerge with no special assessments because you have adequate reserves. That's a defined term nowadays. You have budget stability. Your homeowners know what to expect from year to year to year. You have minimized expenses, again, because the projects happen at the scope that they were bid at. A paint project is just a paint project. It doesn't have any carpentry or welding that you've got to do to the underlying materials. You have minimized liability exposure because you're doing what the governing documents and state law ask you to do. You're serving the association, walking that straight line. And that results in having maximized home values. It's good for your pocketbook. The things that we're going to tell you today are smart. They're good financial investments. If you have some of the consequences I mentioned in the last slide, those can get very expensive. So for those of you thinking about, gee, we can't afford it, I want to encourage you to think you can't not afford it. And having maximized home values means maximized owner enjoyment. The place looks good. It's a pleasure to live there. Things work. It looks sharp. You are happy to invite friends to come over to your place. A lot of good things begin to happen. Okay, so who is the enemy? The enemy is Mother Nature and Father Time. Very clearly, incredibly huge adversaries. You have no power over them. They are, in this illustration that we're going through today, this analogy, they're the dragon. And you have to appreciate that the deterioration they cause is expensive, it's predictable and ongoing. And deterioration is not a respecter of state lines. Deterioration is not a respecter of tight budgets. It's not a respecter of what your governing documents say. They're going to do, Mother Nature and Father Time are going to do what they do. So you need to be ready that they are a very powerful, you can almost say overwhelming force. But we're going to help you put up a good defense today. Now, there are a few other obstacles in your path, a few other challenges. Short-term thinking is one of them. And that's because you have basically in this entire industry is built on untrained volunteer board members with short-term agendas and short terms in office. That's just the nature of this industry that we live in. And there's another obstacle, short-term thinking, and that's pursuing the wrong objective, thinking that you want to pursue low monthly assessments. And it's very clear that that's nowhere in your governing documents. That's nowhere in state law. Your governing documents and state law and I want to say government forces like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are actually forcing you in the opposite direction, taking good care of the property. That's your responsibility. So getting off track, aiming in the wrong direction is going to be bad for you. That's an obstacle. You need to refocus and re-aim. Another obstacle is momentum, where you are going one direction. You've been doing perhaps years of reserve underfunding, years of no assessment increases, and that's going to be hard to turn around. It may be hard to turn that ship around in just 1 year. It may take a while to turn that ship around and get some positive momentum going at your association. And that's usually accompanied by the thought that, well, we've always done it this way, or the board last year did it and, worked for them. But you have to be very careful that you're not just following momentum. Another factor in the momentum is the words that you choose. For years, we've been calling them reserve contributions, and that makes them sound optional. What they really are reserve obligations, reserve transfers, or reserve needs. And you need to start to begin to appreciate that these are bills as real as any other bill at the association. You can almost imagine a roof sending a deterioration bill each month, the asphalt sending a deterioration bill each month. That's what your reserve funding is on a monthly basis, the monthly deterioration bill. So be careful about calling them contributions. Another obstacle is when things are all good, you may have the owners on your side, they're happy. But when you say, hey, it's time for a change, we need to raise assessments, it's very easy for them to think that you are the enemy, not the big dragon of cost of deterioration, inflation, tariffs, supply chain issues, things like that. So that's a problem that you address with communication and transparency. But that is one of those follow-along obstacles that you will hit. That can result in board recalls, contentious elections, contentious budget times, but that's a real factor in this world that we live in. And I do want to make it clear also that we're here 4 years and 1 day after the tragic collapse of Champlain Tower South. This is not just a theoretical battle. This is real. Properties are deteriorating, and Champlain Tower South deteriorated over 40 years of its existence, and it collapsed. And you're looking at this picture on the screen, and you say, oh, gee, that's a tragic, ugly picture. You look at all that shredded building, but I want to make sure you're focusing on this pile right here. What you aren't seeing is 98 people who died in this collapse. This is not only a budget issue, this is a safety issue. And before the end of today's program, we're going to make it very clear it's a legal issue and it's also a communication issue. So these are the tools that you're going to be using to work with this problem, to fight this battle.
At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.